They banned these cooking methods for being dangerous, backward. Ebon Barbardi kings outlawed them. Churches condemned them. Governments erased them from kitchens. And for centuries, the world was told medieval people were ignorant for using them. But now, modern scientists are quietly admitting something uncomfortable. These forbidden medieval cooking tricks were not mistakes. They were genius. And some of them are more advanced than what we use today. What you're about to hear will completely change how you see the Middle Ages, food safety, and the intelligence of people history tried to humiliate. Stay until the end, because the final trick was so effective that modern laboratories are still trying to replicate it without success. This is Medieval Plant Uncovered. Trick number 1 was called stone boiling, and for hundreds of years it was mocked as primitive nonsense. Medieval cooks would heat stones in fire, then drop them directly into soups, stews, and broths. Historians laughed. Why not just put the pot on fire? But modern thermal scientists discovered something shocking. Stone boiling distributes heat evenly without scorching nutrients. The minerals inside the stone slowly leach into the liquid, enriching it with trace elements like calcium and magnesium. Even more disturbing for modern chefs, stone boiling prevents sudden temperature spikes that destroy amino acids. Medieval peasants accidentally created a nutrient-preserving cooking system that modern slow cookers still struggle to match. And that raises a question historians never wanted asked. What else did they get right? The second banned technique involved cooking with ash. Not fire, not charcoal, pure white wood ash mixed into food. Religious authorities labeled it unclean. Governments fined bakers who used it. But modern chemistry now confirms ash cooking changes the pH of food, breaking down plant fibers, and unlocking nutrients humans cannot normally digest. This process, similar to nixtamalization used by ancient civilizations, increased mineral absorption by up to 400%. Medieval cooks didn't know the word bioavailability, yet they engineered it with ash and instinct. If that's ignorance, what does intelligence look like? Third was fermentation that lasted months, sometimes years. Medieval kitchens would seal vegetables, grains, and even meats in clay jars and bury them underground. When food poisoning outbreaks happened, authorities blamed fermentation and banned it. But microbiologists now know those buried jars created anaerobic environments that killed harmful bacteria while feeding beneficial ones. These foods strengthened immunity, preserved vitamins, and acted as natural probiotics long before the word existed. Modern refrigeration replaced this system, but at a cost scientists are only now realizing. Our immune systems weakened. Medieval people were not reckless. They were resilient by design. Here's where the story turns darker. Trick number 4 involved cooking with copper vessels. Today, copper cookware is restricted, even feared. Medieval laws banned commoners from owning it. Why? Officials claimed it was toxic, but modern studies show controlled copper exposure kills pathogens on contact. Medieval cooks unknowingly created antimicrobial kitchens. Their food spoiled less, their water stayed safer. And when copper was removed, disease rates quietly rose. Coincidence or deliberate suppression? The 5th trick was raw honey preservation. Meat, fruit, and herbs were submerged in honey for months. Religious leaders called it unnatural, but modern labs now confirm raw honey creates an environment where bacteria cannot survive. It pulls moisture from microbes, killing them without heat or chemicals. Honey preserved food while enhancing medicinal properties. Medieval healers fed honey-preserved garlic to soldiers and documented faster wound healing. This wasn't superstition, it was biochemistry in disguise. Trick number 6 was cooking in animal stomachs. Yes, banned for being grotesque. Food placed inside cleaned stomach linings and heated slowly near embers. But scientists now know stomach enzymes partially digest proteins, making nutrients easier to absorb. This method reduced cooking time, preserved amino acids, and created flavors modern chefs try to imitate artificially. Medieval kitchens were biological reactors, not primitive huts. The 7th technique involved intentional mold. Blue mold on bread, white mold on cheese, green mold on fruit rinds, Authorities burned kitchens for this, yet modern science now isolates antibiotics from the same molds medieval people cultivated. Penicillin wasn't discovered, it was rediscovered. Medieval diets included microdoses of antimicrobial compounds that strengthened resistance to infection. When mold was banned, disease surged. History blamed hygiene. Science blames ignorance of the ban. Now, listen carefully. Trick number 8 may change how you see salt forever. Medieval cooks layered food with massive amounts of salt, then removed most of it before eating. Governments banned this, claiming salt poisoning. But modern food scientists discovered this process draws toxins and pathogens out of meat through osmosis. The final product had less harmful bacteria than modern factory meat. Medieval salt curing wasn't excess, it was extraction. The 9th trick was cooking in sealed clay. No air, no oxygen. Food was placed inside unglazed clay pots, sealed with dough, and buried in embers. Authorities banned it for fear of explosions. But this method created pressure cooking conditions centuries before pressure cookers existed. It preserved volatile nutrients and intensified flavors. Modern sous vide cooking is a weaker version of this medieval method. They didn't need machines. They had earth and fire. Trick number 10 involved bitter herbs intentionally added to meals. Wormwood, yarrow, chicory, banned for being poisonous. But pharmacologists now confirm bitter compounds stimulate digestion, liver detoxification, and insulin regulation. Medieval diets balanced sweetness with bitterness, something modern diets completely lost. And with that loss came metabolic disease. Here's the first major loop returning. If medieval people were so wrong, why does modern science keep proving them right? Trick number 11 used smoke not to cook, but to disinfect. Kitchens were deliberately filled with smoke from specific woods. This wasn't accidental. Oak, juniper, and rosemary smoke contain antimicrobial compounds that sterilize surfaces and food. When smoke was banned in cities, sanitation collapsed. Medieval people sanitized air chemically, without knowing chemistry. Trick number 12 was cooking during lunar cycles. Mocked as superstition, banned by rational authorities. But modern chronobiology now confirms hormonal cycles influence digestion, metabolism, and appetite. Medieval cooking schedules aligned with human biology in ways we're only beginning to measure. They didn't worship the moon. They observed the body. The 13th trick involved intentionally undercooking certain foods, especially grains. Authorities demanded full cooking to prevent illness. But nutrition science now confirms lightly cooked grains preserve resistant starch, feeding gut bacteria, and regulating blood sugar. Medieval people accidentally engineered low-glycemic diets centuries before diabetes existed. Now, the second loop tightens. Every time medieval cooking was banned, health declined. Every time it was restored, health improved. That brings us to trick number 14, cooking with iron nails dropped into pots. Banned as dangerous contamination, but iron leaches into food, preventing anemia. Medieval women had lower iron deficiency than modern women despite worse living conditions. The solution wasn't supplements, it was cooking. And now the final trick, the one modern science still cannot fully replicate. Medieval cooks reused cooking water. Over and over soups never emptied. Stews never reset. Authorities called it filthy, banned it outright. But microbiologists now understand these perpetual broths created stable microbial ecosystems that resisted pathogens while increasing nutrient density. Each meal made the next one stronger. It was a living system, not decay. Life. So ask yourself this. If medieval people were ignorant, why does modern science keep validating their bans as mistakes? Why were these techniques erased, ridiculed, outlawed? Were they dangerous? Or were they too effective, too independent, too hard to control? History loves to mock the past. Science is now apologizing for it. And as researchers quietly rediscover these lost techniques, one truth becomes unavoidable. The Middle Ages were not dark. We just turned off the light. This has been Medieval Plant Uncovered. And if you're still watching, remember this: the future of food may not be forward. It may be buried behind us, waiting to be unbanned.